What's going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back to the Fantasy Headliners. Kyle coming to you with our XFL Week 3 preview show, and hopefully you're enjoying the XFL so far. A lot of people are. Heck, read just a little bit ago that the Seattle BattleHawks, their home opener this week, they have sold out. That is right. They have sold every single seat in the establishment except for a few luxury boxes that they're still trying to get some seats filled for. So St. Louis is excited to have football back in town. And then for Seattle, I mean, they have the Seahawks, but extend a little football season for them, and you're going to get 20,000 plus people. That's how many people they had in attendance last week. So everyone is enjoying the XFL. If you don't enjoy the XFL, give it a little bit more time. It's going to get better, okay? Some of the offense has been a little rough so far, but there's been some exciting offenses as well. And we're going to talk about that for week 3 here. So whether you're playing some XFL Dynasty, or some XFL Fantasy Football, I don't think anyone's doing a Dynasty League in XFL, but some XFL Fantasy Football or some DFS, whatever it may be, got a lot of good information here for you. And if you're just interested in the XFL and you want some more info, that works for you too. So let's check out the matchups here for week 3. On Saturday at 2 p.m., Houston, one of the better teams in the league so far, going up against Tampa Bay. Also on Saturday at 5, Dallas got on the board last week with a win. The favorites to begin the season. They are back on track now. They head to Seattle on Saturday. And then on Sunday at 3 o'clock, New York will go to St. Louis for St. Louis's home opener. And then later on in the evening at 6, DC and LA will face off. And again, I've mentioned it already, one of the main reasons that the XFL is surviving right now and probably will continue to survive are those TV deals. ABC, Fox, ESPN, FS1. They are on all of the major networks right now. So it's time to jump into it. Let's talk about the matchups for this week, some players to keep an eye on. Again, doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're just a casual XFL fan and you're just here to get some more information on who to watch this week, I've got that for you. If you're playing a little DFS, I've got that for you too. Don't forget, we have a DFS article over on the website. Should be up ready for you to take a look at and start filling out those lineups. And maybe you just have a fantasy league that you're playing some XFL in. That's good too. We've got it all here for you right now. So our first matchup, first team we're taking a look at, the Houston Roughnecks. Again, one of the better teams in the league so far. The reason for that? P.J. Walker, a very, very exciting player. A lot of people think that this is a guy that could get an NFL deal, not as a starting quarterback, but as a backup quarterback at the end of the season. And that's one of those storylines that will be interesting to watch. Would he sign a deal to be a backup quarterback in the NFL, or would he continue to stay in the XFL where he can be a starter and be one of the star players of the league? We'll have to see how that kind of a dynamic works out over the coming weeks and years. Again, P.J. Walker, quarterback for the Roughnecks, 442 yards, 7 touchdowns right now, which leads the XFL, only throwing 1 interception. And his main target, Cam Phillips, 4 receiving TDs, leads the XFL, 12 receptions, is tied for third. So Houston, definitely one of the better offensive teams to watch in this league. And quite honestly, expect a lot of PJ Walker and expect a lot of Cam Phillips facing off against one of the worst teams in the league this week, which really is catching some people off guard, including myself. The Tampa Bay Vipers. Davion Smith and Daniel Williams are really the only 2 players to watch for me right now on Tampa Bay. Davion Smith, he does have 27 rushes this year, which is tied for second in the NFL. Now, don't know if I'm going to do too much with him this week. So if you're interested in any DFS, don't know if I'm going to put Davion Smith out there because Tampa Bay is going to have a lot of catching up to do. The Roughnecks are probably going to put it to them. They're going to put up quite a few points this week, I would imagine. Davion Smith, I just don't think he's going to get enough work because the score is probably going to get out of control pretty early on. So Daniel Williams is a guy to take a look at. Daniel Williams, I will look at this week. He's got 9 receptions on 13 targets this year for 145 yards. Can they get the quarterback situation worked out in Tampa Bay? Who is it going to be this week? Obviously, Aaron Murray in week 1 did not work out. Injured in week 2. Will he play this week? Haven't heard that as of yet. They're going to have a quarterback, though, obviously, to play. Is it going to be Murray or somebody else? Daniel Williams is still a low-end guy that I'll take a look at, especially if you're doing more of a GPP type of lineup where you're trying to be a little contrarian, get away from some of the masses, some of the chalk plays. Daniel Williams could be a guy that could help you do that. All right, let's jump over to the next matchup now. Going with the Dallas Renegades at the Seattle Dragons. Dallas, again, like I said, got back in the win column last week. The odds-on favorite at the beginning of the year to win the XFL championship. They're back on track now. One of the main reasons, Landry Jones. Did he have a great week last week? Absolutely not. 28 of 40, 305 yards, only one touchdown and 2 interceptions. But Landry Jones hasn't played a whole lot over the last few years, but this is a guy with NFL experience. He's been in the NFL. He's been around some of that. This is a guy, Landry Jones, a very good college career, playing for a very good college coach and Bob Stoops. So you have to imagine that this is going to get better. And if you watch the game, as the game progressed last week for Dallas, Landry Jones did get better. Again, you've got your PJ Walker. We're going to talk about another one of our top quarterback options. But Landry Jones is a guy that I'm going to continue to keep an eye on because I think he's going to be a cheap play at quarterback where you could get some decent work, and that could be this week against Seattle. So I have no problem playing Landry Jones this week. Cameron Artis-Payne at running back for the Dallas Renegades. Lance Dunbar was a guy that I had here on the players to watch list last week because I had to see a little bit more from Dallas. With Landry Jones coming back, was he going to be good enough last week to help them get a win? Were they going to have to pass it a little bit more? Was the defense going to show up? That's why I had Lance Dunbar, because he had such a good week one. However, Cameron Artis-Payne was the guy last week. 14 rushes, 99 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This week going up against Seattle, I could 100% see another type of game like this from Cameron Artis-Payne. So he's definitely my running back to own right now in Dallas. Definitely not getting away from him anytime soon. Again, Lance Dunbar, good change of pace back, but he is not what I am looking for. And looking at last week, he is the highest priced running back this week if you're over on FanDuel. And he's averaging just over 16 FanDuel points per week right now. Chris Kennedy putting that information over in our DFS article. So a shout out to Chris for giving us some of that information. And he's seeing 13 touches per game. So, and another tidbit from Chris, actually as well, second most receptions among all running backs. So Cameron Artis-Payne getting a lot of that work that we thought Lance Dunbar was going to get last week. Cameron Artis-Payne is doing it all right now, so he's definitely kind of the running back one to take a look at, especially in Dallas. But overall, he's a guy that you're going to put in your lineups for DFS because he's giving you a little bit of everything. Now, who they're playing this week, the Seattle Dragons. Taking a look at what they have to offer us, Keenan Reynolds and Austin Proehl. So looking at both of these guys. Now, I've got 2 wide receivers listed here, and the way that the XFL has gone so far, it hasn't really been a wide receiver friendly league quite yet. Outside of a couple of teams, offense has been a little bit more difficult to come by. Again, we're going to see that pick up a little bit. However, these are a couple of guys that could offer you some big play opportunities. Keenan Reynolds, again, if the name doesn't sound familiar, used to play quarterback at Navy. Now he's playing wide receiver here in the XFL. 15 targets, is tied for 4th in the XFL right now. But it's what he's doing. 8 yards after the catch per reception and 18.44 yards per reception. He ranks first in both of those categories of all wide receivers that have a minimum of 10 targets. If you drop that down to 7 targets, then he's second overall. So even for guys that have a few less targets, he's still either first or second. So a lot of big plays and a lot of yards after the catch. The dude's doing a lot of different things. So some big plays, really making some guys miss as well. I like Keenan Reynolds. Austin Proehl, another guy, he had the big week one. Reynolds had the big week last week, so they kind of switched back and forth so far. But Proehl's even been good. Yards after the catch per reception, 9.3 right now. Okay, that puts him number 1 overall. He does have a few less targets than Keenan Reynolds. That's why he's number 1. Again, when I talked about adding in or going down to 7 targets. If you're talking about a minimum of 7 targets, Keenan Reynolds drops down to second. Austin Proehl jumps up and takes the yards after catch per reception title there. And the 14.5 yards per reception tied for 10th. So again, both guys are doing it after the catch. Seattle's got some wide receivers that can make some plays. Maybe they can keep up with Dallas this week. It would be good for Seattle to be able to go out there and go punch for punch for them. Will they be able to? A lot of that depends on the quarterback situation as well. But they've got the wide receiver talent to possibly make that happen. Jumping over to our next matchup, third matchup, first one on Sunday, the New York Guardians. I'm going to be quite honest with you. New York at St. Louis. I'm not touching anybody from New York this team. This offense is by far one of the worst in the league, if not the worst. Really, none of their players are anywhere near the top of any statistical category. Matt McGloin has been absolutely awful. No one else has really stepped up at this point. They're going to be playing St. Louis. St. Louis has one of the best rushing offenses in all the XFL right now. Because of that, New York probably isn't going to have the ball very long. They're going to have to keep hold of the ball. They haven't just done that this year. They haven't really been able to drive the field, make those laps. If you can't do that and you're continuously giving the ball back to a team that is going to run the ball, especially in a league where the clock is continuously running, it's not going to work well for you. So this week for New York, I'm not picking anybody to watch. However, for the St. Louis BattleHawks, 100%, I'm keeping an eye on what they're doing this week. Jordan Ta'amu, again, another guy that I like. Quarterback, 602 total offensive yards, leads the XFL. Total offensive yards. The guy right now is 4th in the NFL for rushing yards as a quarterback. So this guy is doing it all. A lot of people said PJ Walker was going to be the Lamar Jackson of the XFL. This guy has been much better. He's got 4 or 5 total touchdowns, a 78% completion percentage. This guy has been excellent on the ground, through the air. St. Louis has themselves a legitimate team, and Matt Jones leads the XFL for both 37 carries and 129 rushing yards. So this is an offensive attack that is on the ground, pushing the football, and it has worked so far, and it's going to work again this week. St. Louis has a great opportunity to get another win, and these are 2 guys, especially with Ta'amu, that you're going to take a look at to put in your DFS lineups. Our final matchup of the weekend, the DC Defenders going up against the LA Wildcats. For DC, Cardell Jones continues to lead the XFL in passing yards and 7.7 yards per attempt. So he is pushing the ball down the field. We have 3 really, really solid quarterbacks in the XFL right now. I know that there's 8 teams, so you'd like to see more solid quarterbacks than that. But I think we're going to see some better quarterback play again coming up very soon. And as the XFL develops and it becomes a league where it's taken a little bit more serious, again, a lot of people kind of off the bandwagon of the XFL at the very beginning because we've seen the XFL fail once already, and then the AAF failed last year in the middle of the year. So a lot of people are kind of hesitant to see what happens. But as the XFL is taken more serious, I honestly think we're going to see some college quarterbacks and some college players make the leap. Maybe some guys who are going to get out of college a little bit early so they can go get paid to play. I've got no problem with it. If that's what they do, go for it. It could possibly give us a little bit better of a product in the XFL. Now, Cardell Jones, his top target right now is Rashad Ross. 5 of his 7 targets this year have been 20-plus yards down the field. He also has 130 yards on deep passes. Again, deep passes are balls that travel at least 20 yards down the field. So Rashad Ross has been that guy. He's been a big reason why Cardell Jones leads the XFL in passing yards and yards per attempt. Expect the same thing this week against the Wildcats. DC, one of the best teams in the league. They might be the best team in the league, especially with the way they play on offense and on defense. So going up against LA, can they get the win this week? Possibly. Players to watch for the Wildcats. Nelson Spruce has been the guy to own at wide receiver in the league so far. 24 targets, 17 receptions, and 181 yards. All 3 of those lead the XFL. And when you're going up against an offense like DC, more than likely you're going to see a lot of targets and a lot of receptions this week from Nelson Spruce. Coming from Josh Johnson. Josh Johnson missed week 1. He's back here in week 2. Not a bad week. 18 of 34, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. Kind of the same thing that I said with Landry Jones. Both of these guys missed week 1, yet here in week 2, you could see as the game went on, some of this rust start to fall off. So we've got Cardell Jones. We've got 3. Again, we've got 3 really solid quarterbacks. Josh Johnson and Landry Jones could end up giving us number 4 and number 5. So then 5 of the 8 teams have a really good quarterback situation moving forward. So let's give it a little bit more time. This could definitely be the matchup to watch. It's why it's the late matchup this week. I think that's why they're taking a look at it out in LA. Definitely like this matchup for both of these teams. Again, if DC can go out to LA, put up some points, keep the ball on their side, try to keep the game script with them, LA is going to have to throw the ball. That's going to bode well for both Nelson Spruce and Josh Johnson. So keep an eye on that. There you go. That's all you have it there. 8 teams, 4 matchups, week 3 of the XFL. Make sure you head over to FanDuel if you're not signed up already for them. Get over there and start playing some XFL DFS where they're offering it there. We're going to continue to give you this content all off season long. Off season for the NFL. In season for the XFL. Well, we've got a ton of content. We're going to be in Indianapolis next week for the Combine, so make sure if you're in the Indianapolis area, you either direct message myself or Jake on Twitter, because we're going to be getting a little bit of a get-together. We're going to have something going on Wednesday night, so make sure you let us know if you're in Indianapolis, because we want to meet up with you and get to know some of Headliner Nation. But first off, before you leave the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you comment below. Let me know, what do you think of the XFL so far? What are you thinking? Are you going to watch the rest of the season? Are you starting to get bored? Do you like what you see so far? Do you agree that I think that the type of play that we're seeing is going to get better? It's been a little rough at the first couple of weeks. We've seen some really good play. We've seen some not great play. It's going to get a lot better. Do you agree with that? So hit that like button, comment, do all of those things, but most importantly, if you have not subscribed to the Fantasy Headliners, hit that subscribe button for me. Turn on the bell notification. Headliner Nation, thanks so much for tuning in to another video. I'll catch you on the next one. Have a great day.